Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're joining for the first time, hi there. My name is Lois and today we're going to continue with the making of this dress. Let's go. So to start with, I'm going to be joining my bustier patterns. I have already ironed the wording to the main fabric. I wanted the bustier to be fully padded and not halfway because the fabric is really light. So what I'm doing here, I'm trying to make a notch on my lines. That is the bust point line. I just want to make a notch there. And here I am placing the pattern on it like this. And then I'm just going to make a notch on the bust point line. I'm going to do the same for the other pattern and then mark the bust point line and notch it. So by the time you place the patterns on each other, the notches should rhyme. Doing this will help give you a perfectly shaped bustier. So here I'm just showing you how it's supposed to be. If you want to join your bustier together, you start joining from the down parts. Here I'm pinning it and I'm going to join the notches together. You see it's rhyming. So I'm going to pin that and then pin the top. So do the same for the other side and stitch it together. And after stitching, this is what the bustier looks like. You can see how pretty it looks and how perfect, if not perfect, at least near perfect it looks. So now we're going to open it up, but before then I'm just going to clip it or notch it like this, the curved areas, so it's easy to open up. So I'm going to do the same for the other side. I'm going to notch the curved areas too. And after that is done, we're just going to open it up this way and then press the lines. So I have a makeshift tailor's ham. I just wrapped a piece of fabric together like this. You can just DIY yours if you don't have a tailor's ham. So I'm just going to put it under and then place my bustier pattern on top, open up the lines and press it properly. This is essential when making a bustier so as to make the curves come out well. So just press it nicely. Do it for all the curved areas. And when that is done, you can see how nice it looks. We're also going to iron the front part. So just iron it nicely. And our bustier is ready. See how it's standing on business. And now it is at this point you attach the yoke, and as you can see I've already joined the pieces together, and now I'm clipping the curved edges. So I'm just going to turn it over to the right side. Remember the yoke is double, so you do the same for the other pattern. And now I'm just going to fold my bustier in two to get the midpoint. So make sure it's folded in two and then notch the midpoint. Now you're going to take one part of the yoke and then place it on the notch. Just place it directly on the notch like this. Here I just place it this way so that I could accurately attach the yokes. So I'm just going to mark where it starts from and where it ends. Do the same for the other side. So here I just start placing it from the midpoint and then pin it together. And do that to the other side. Here I'm just making sure it's the same thing we have on the other side, and we have about 2.5 inches for the width. So I'm just going to pin that. So after pinning, you're just going to stitch it together. Do the same for the other side and stitch it, and this is how it should look like. Our dress is coming together nicely already. And now I'm going to attach the lining. I've gone ahead to join the patterns together and also notch the midpoint. So you're going to place it midpoint to midpoint and then pin it together. So just pin it nicely. And after joining it together, this is what it should look like. You can see it's looking nice already. So nice. And this is what it looks like in front. We are done with the front pattern and now it's time to join the back pattern. And to do that, I'm going to be top stitching my ropes. I have about 2 inches as the width of the ropes and 27 inches as the length. You can make yours shorter than this. It doesn't have to be like mine at all. So I'm just going to fold it and then top stitch it nicely. And after doing that, this is what it should look like. Now I'm going to attach it to the back pattern. As you can see, I've gone ahead to sew the neckline of the back pattern. So to attach the ropes, I'm going to be placing it this way. So just look closely. It's going to be in between the main fabric and the lining. So just put it this way and then close it. Then you pin all of them together. Now just going to start stitching it about 1/2 inch. Stitch it all the way down to the zip allowance. And when that is done, this is how it should look like. Don't forget to notch the curved areas. So just notch it nicely. And turn it to the right side. So you do the same for the other back pattern and then top stitch the remaining parts, and after that is done, this is what it should look like. Now I'm going to be taking my zip allowance, and to do that I'm just going to place them on top of each other like this. So just make sure it's equal. So because we have used about 1/2 inch to join the seam allowance, our zip allowance now is about 1 inch. Remember we used about 1.5 inches. So we're going to be using 1 inch now. And I'm just going to mark that. Now from the zip allowance line, I'm going to be taking about 4 inches. This is for my dart. And from the top, I'll be measuring 12 inches down. So just mark that 12 inches and then 4 inches as the width for my dart. I'm just going to mark that and connect the lines together. So you do the same for the other side. 1 inch for the zip allowance, and then you take the dart measurement as well. So do all of that and then stitch them together. And after stitching, this is what it should look like. Our dress is coming together nicely and I'm excited about it. So I'm just going to tie the ropes together. This is exactly how I like the back parts of my dresses to look like. The ropes and the open back. Now I'm going to be joining the front pattern and the back pattern together in holy matrimony. So we're just going to start joining it from the shoulder, and to do that I'm just going to place it this way. Place the lining on top and then stitch it together. So just watch closely. Do the same for the other side and then stitch it nicely. And after that is done, this is what it should look like. See how it looks neat? And this is how yours should look like also. Now I'm going to be shaping this upper part to my size, and to do that I'm just going to get the midpoint for the front pattern. So I'm just going to fold it this way and then use the chalk to mark the midpoints both up and down. So you're just going to place it on the back pattern like this. Make sure the midpoints aligns together with the zip allowance. And as you can see, mine is aligned. So I'm just going to pin the midpoint to the zip allowance. So just pin it down. So it is at this point I take my bust and waist measurement. I'm using 40 inches for my bust and 32 inches for my waist. So I'll just mark that there. Now I'm not going to be stitching it all the way because we're still going to join our lower pieces. So I'm just going to leave 2 inches and then sew the rest. After sewing, this is what it should look like. And now I'm just going to trim off the excess. Flip it over, and this is how the upper part of our dress looks like. It's coming together nicely, and as you can see, I did not join it all the way at the side. I left about 2 inches. So now it's time to move on to the lower part of our dress, and to start that I'll be joining the lining to the main fabric. So for the back piece, I'll be putting the lining on top like this, and then sew about half an inch there towards the zip allowance. So do that for the other parts. And then for the front part, you just place the main fabric on top of the lining like this, and then top stitch all the edges round. So after joining the lining at the back piece, just going to flip it over to the right side like this, and then top stitch the remaining edges round. So do it for the other part too. And once that is done, this is how it should look like. And as you can see, I have joined them together at the zip allowance. I used about 1 inch to join the zip allowance. I use loose stitches on where I want my zipper to be, and from about 8 inches down I double stitched and used tighter stitches, as you can see. Now this is the front part. I've also top stitched it round. So to join it to the upper part, I'm just going to open up the zip allowance like this. I also use loose stitches, that's why it's easy for me to lose it off. So now I'm going to be measuring my darts that I have there, and I have about 4.75 inches at the back darts. It is also the same 4.75 inches at the other side. So for the back darts I have about 4.75 inches, and in front I have about 6.25 inches. So that's the front dart. I'm just going to bend my tape rule this way, so I'll get the middle of that 6.25 inches, and whatever value I get there, I'm going to place it. First I'm going to fold my lower piece, that's the front lower piece. I'm just going to fold it in two like this, and then get the midpoint. So I'm just going to notch the midpoint, and then place the middle of that 6.25 inches on it this way. So you just place it and mark it. Let's do that. And after marking, I'm just going to notch it again, open it up and flip it to the back. And now I'm just going to take my chalk and highlight the notches like this. So I'm just going to make sure that it is up to that 6.25 inches, and as you can see it is. Now I'm going to fold one part like this in about 0.5 inches, that is half an inch. So just fold it nicely. That is going to be the width of our dart, and I'm just going to mark that down half an inch down to about 5 inches. The length of my dart is 5 inches, so I'm going to mark it this way. Do it for the other side. And for the back dart, remember our dart at the back is about 4.75 inches. So I'm going to open up the zip allowance and measure 4.75 inches from there, and then on the other side. So we're going to do all of that we did for the front. The length of the dart is 5 inches, and then stitch it together. And after stitching, this is what we have. Now we're going to be joining them together, and the first thing you want to do is to place the midpoint of the lower piece to the midpoint of the upper piece together. So you just place it and pin it, and once you do that, you see the darts are lined properly. So you want to make sure the darts are lined together. If it doesn't align, that means you have to lose it and then stitch it again. So you pin it together and then pin the other dart together. Make sure it aligns also. So you do the same thing for the back, and I'm just going to open up the zip allowance. Please don't do it roughly like I did. It's because the stitches are really loose, that's why it's easy for me to lose it this way. If it's not, you can use a seam ripper to loosen the stitches. Now I'm just going to place the dart to the dart for the back piece. That's the first thing I'll do, and you can see it aligns to the middle also. Do the same for the other side. And now you're going to stitch it all the way round. Stitch all of them together, and this is what it should look like after stitching. And when you open it up to the right side, you can see it aligns. This is so satisfying. If yours does not look like this, just loosen up the darts and then start stitching it again. Make sure the measurements are accurate. So now I'm going to be taking my hips measurement, and to do that I'm going to be measuring 8.5 inches from the waistline. So you measure that, and then on that line I'll be taking my hips measurement. I'm using 44 inches, so I'm going to be taking 44 inches divided by 2 give me 22, and I have about 28 inches there. So 28 minus 22 is 6 inches. So I'll be taking 3 inches on each side. And now I'm going to connect that 3 inches to the waistline like this. So just connect it nicely. And we're going to stitch it. Do the same for the other side and stitch it together. Please make sure they are aligned well before stitching. And after stitching, this is what it should look like. So I'm just going to cut off the excess. So flip it over to the front, and this is what it should look like. As you can see, I've gone ahead to attach my zipper also, and the dress is coming together nicely. Now I've joined my tulle pieces together, and it's really long. So I had to fold it in four, yes, and I got my midpoint and then the sides. You understand what I mean in a bit. So I'm just going to place the first midpoint. That's the first part where I notched. So I'm going to place it at the back piece, where we join the zip allowance. So we're going to place it and pin it together. And then you look for another midpoint. That is going to be the midpoint for the side. And then pin it together again. So I folded this tulle in 4 and got all the sides. I make sure I notched all the sides, all the 4 sides. So I'm just going to be pinning them to the 4 sides too that we have, the middle and the sides of our dress. So you pin them and then make small pleatings and join the lining also. After doing that, this is what it should look like. You can see how nice it looks like, and the V shape really came out. So I've gone ahead to fold the hem of my lining inside, and our dress is coming together nicely. So gorgeous already. Now it's time to attach my sleeves, and I'm making a puff sleeve. So I've gone ahead to make the casing of the elastic I'll be attaching to the hemline of this sleeve. Now I folded it in 2 and got the midpoint. And so for my elastic, I'll be using my round sleeve measurement -2. My round sleeve is 13, -2 will give me 11. That is going to be how long the elastic would be. I like using this method because the elastic would not be too tight or too loose. It's just going to be right. So we're just going to pass the elastic through the casing and then pin one end. And when you reach the other end, you just pin it also. So just pin it nicely, and you can remove your safety pin now. Make sure you stretch it out this way to evenly distribute the elastic. So we're just going to place it like this, and then sew about half an inch. So stitch it half an inch, and after stitching, this is what it should look like. So because it's a puff sleeve, we're going to be pleating it on our main dress. You can also use a gather stitch for this, but for this dress I'm going to be doing small pleats. So the first thing you want to do is to place the join part on the sleeve to the join part on the dress, and then pin it together. And now from the shoulder joining, I'll be coming down by about 3 inches. So we're just going to mark 3 inches from the shoulder joining. So just measure it and mark it there. That is where the pleating will start from. So I'm just going to pin it And then take the midpoint of the sleeve that we notched and place it on top of the shoulder joining like this. So just place it and pin them together. And on the other side, you also want to measure 3 inches down, 3 inches down, and then just mark it. So I flipped it inside and I'm just going to pin the sleeve to the 3 inches that we marked. So from that 3 inches that we marked, you're just going to start making the small pleats. It's at that point too you can make your gathers if you're using gathers for this. So we make those small pleats all the way to the middle. You can see I've joined the other sleeve, so we're going to make it look like this, small pleats. And after doing that, our dress is ready. On a scale of 1 to 10, how gorgeous is this? Let me know. For me, it's a 10 over 10. A 10 over 10 minus nothing. If you can tell, I had a lot of fun making this dress. Like, it was so fun making it. And even though the sleeve is not what I wanted, this puff sleeve really works. And as you can see how the back looks like, the whole rope thing going on, so nice, so gorgeous. It's really given, is it not? I'd love to see you recreate your own, and if you have any question or any blockers, let me know. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and see you in my next video. Bye.